Hi, in this video we're going to go through setting up your site with WordPress. As you can see, we're starting with an installation of WordPress that we have just set up using Bluehost, and now we are looking at the front end of the website. Before we can start editing it, we need to log in, and to do that we're going to add a /wp-admin to the end of our URL. As you can see, that takes us to the login page. You'll put in the username and password that you set. Your password should be much longer than that. And now you're in looking at the dashboard. Now that we're logged in, we do need to think about a few things before we start creating content. Namely, what type of content do you want to show on your site? You might want a couple of static pages with info about yourself or contact information. You also might want to publish content with some regularity, in which case you should consider leveraging the blogging features of WordPress, which are great for showcasing both text-heavy and interactive or multimedia projects. If you're interested in having a blog and a separate portfolio, I'll walk through the process of setting up a separate portfolio with the Jetpack plugin in a future video. And for now, we'll set up your other content types. Do note, though, that the built-in blogging functionality will work well as a hybrid portfolio blog for many USC Annenberg students. The next decision to make is what you want on your homepage. You can either display a static page with a welcome message and/or information about yourself, or you can display the latest posts from your blog or portfolio. It's easy to change this in the future if you change your mind later. Now let's get started. If you look on the left side of your screen, you will see what is known as the WordPress admin menu. And in this, we're going to go to the main settings page. There are a few things that we want to change here. First, we're going to change the tagline. The site title should be your name if this is a personal site, and then the tagline should be a very brief description about yourself. You shouldn't change your WordPress address or site address here, and typically the email that's set here won't need to be changed, but if you ever change your email in the future, such as when you graduate from USC, this is where you'll change it. The next thing you want to update is the time zone. You'll want to make sure that you set this to Los Angeles, because we're in Los Angeles right now, of course. And that way all posts will show up with the time in the time zone you're currently in, instead of the default time zone, which is in Europe. The date and time format are usually fine with the defaults, but the week does start on Sunday in the US, and that setting is used for a couple things throughout WordPress. Now that we're done with the general settings, we'll go ahead and skip over reading and writing settings for now, because we don't need to change any of those, and we'll go right to the discussion settings. These are used to manage how comments work. WordPress has a very robust commenting system built in that allows anyone to post a comment on your site by default. But you may not want comments to be enabled for all of your posts and pages by default, and so for now I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Just note that if you ever want to have comments in the future, you can just turn those back on using this discussion page, and it's just the allow people to post comments on new articles checkbox. Next, we'll move on to the media page. Now, I like to make the medium image size slightly larger. I usually set it to 400 pixels as the maximum width and height. That's not a hard requirement that you should change, but just a suggestion when you're first setting up your site. Finally, on the permalinks page, you're going to want to change it to the post name permalink setting. This way, when someone is looking at a specific post or item in your portfolio on your site, the URL will read with the post title, which is automatically generated, rather than just being some random number that's much harder to remember. So we'll just save our changes here, and now we're done with the basic settings. While we're on the subject of settings, let's take a minute to edit your profile. WordPress supports having multiple users by default, which is why we have a users menu within WordPress. But for a personal site, you're probably going to be the only user, and so for that, we'll go ahead and jump to our profile and just update our settings here. As you can see, WordPress comes with a variety of fun and varying personalities of color schemes, and so you can play around with those and see which one you want. I usually use Midnight. And then the important thing to set here is your full name. And then you should also change how your name displays publicly to your full name instead of your username. You can also update your email from here, and this is also where you can change your password, although you can always reset your password on the login screen as well. So now that we're done with all of our settings and our profile, we can start actually creating some content. Regardless of what you're using your personal site for, you're almost always going to want to have a couple of static pages, and so we'll start by creating that content. You're going to go to Pages in the admin menu on the left side of the screen, and go ahead and trash the sample page. Now you're going to add a new page, and we're going to start with an About page. Now notice that WordPress automatically generates the URL for the page based on the title that you put in. But if you want to call your page something like About Me, you should probably just change the URL to only say About, just to be a little bit shorter and easier to read. And now that we're here, we can start writing a quick bio about ourselves. I have one already written, so I'm going to hop out of WordPress and open that up and then copy and paste it in. And so as you can see, you can copy and paste formatting, and if you wrote something in, for example, Word, it will keep most of your formatting in place. Although I do recommend writing in WordPress when you are writing something from scratch rather than writing in Word and then bringing it over. And of course we can do various different formatting things within WordPress, so if we want to bold some text, we can just select it and make it bold. Pretty straightforward. We can also add links, and so you just use this button, type in the address, make sure it has an HTTP, but you don't necessarily need the www. And of course, usually if it's an external link, you might want to open it in a new tab by default. Now, another really important thing to note is that you can add subheadings, and so in this case I have sort of two sections to my bio. I have my general intro, and then I also have a list of some of the current projects I'm working on. So I'll add a subheading for that, and you can change it with this tool here. Now if you only see this first row of tools in the toolbar, just click the icon right at the far right side of it, and that toggles that second row of options. In this case, we'll set this to a heading 2. You'll almost never need to set a heading 1 in a post, and you really shouldn't, because the post title, or the page title in this case, will be a heading 1 when it's output on the front end of your website. So we can just update a couple of the other subheadings here. Of course, if you have a heading 2 and then there's a subheading under that, that would be a heading 3. You can also do some fun things with WordPress, such as block quotes. So if you have a favorite quote or some sort of a saying that you like to say and you want to highlight that, you can press the block quote button, and that will emphasize that in a nice way within WordPress. Of course, this particular text wouldn't necessarily make sense for that in this context, but you can set that up however you want if you have some type of a content like that where it might be appropriate to do that. Another thing that I recommend doing on an About page is adding a picture of yourself. And so to do that, we're going to go to Add Media. Once we're in here, you can select files with the uploader, or you can even just drag and drop files in. So I'll just drag in a picture of myself, and we'll jump back into full screen here. And now that we have the picture in here, you can edit the settings over here, and so in this case, I'll probably just set that to be my name. Alternative text is something that only shows up to robots or for screen readers for people who are using assistive technology on the web. So while I recommend setting that on all of your images, I'm not going to go through that right now. And then at the bottom you can see a couple of different options. By default, it'll link to the media file itself. There's also an attachment page which shows the title and description as well as the caption if you've set it, whereas the description won't be displayed in the post where you insert this. And you can also set it to link to a custom URL. In this case, I'm not going to link it to anything though. And then of course the size, for now I'm going to set it at the large size. And then you can see that that inserts into our post. Now, on second thought, this is a little bit big, so I'm going to try bumping it down. You can see once it's in WordPress and inserted into your post, you can resize it very easily. You can also adjust the alignment. So if there's no alignment, the text won't wrap around it. If we wanted to say put it up in this paragraph somewhere, maybe put it before this paragraph, but have the text wrap around it instead of doing this weird line break thing, we could align it to the left, and then it'll automatically place the text there, or maybe put it on the right. And so as you can see, it's really easy to customize how images are displayed with WordPress within a post now that we have these tools to resize the image or adjust the alignment directly in line. Of course, in this case, I'm sitting in a concrete canoe, and so maybe I want to explain that more and decide after the fact that I want to add a caption. When you go to this edit button in the image editing toolbar, that will bring up this modal where you have a few more options to adjust things like where it's linked to and adding a caption. You should also consider posting your resume on your site. WordPress makes it really easy to do this, and all you need to do is to make sure that your resume is saved in PDF format. So to add your resume, you're again going to use the Add Media button, and we will go ahead and put that on its own line right in here. So we're just going to go to Add Media. Again, we can drag and drop the file in. So WordPress supports PDF files, and if you use a PDF format for your resume, it will be able to be displayed in most web browsers without users having to actually download it. Whereas if you upload it as a Word document or something else, it will have to be downloaded before someone can open it. So you usually should use the resume or the PDF format for your resume. Again, just drag and drop it in, and then the title is automatically generated based on the file name. And so you'll probably want to change that, removing any hyphens or any other words, and then adjust it however you like that to display. And then as you can see, it will be inserted automatically into this page as a link. And so when a user clicks on this, it'll automatically take them to that file that's been uploaded. Now in this case, it's a heading 2 right now. I'm gonna bump that down. I think in my case, I want this to be a heading because I want it to stand out a little bit more. By default, it'll just be a paragraph, so it'll just look like that. But if I make this one of the heading sizes, that might add a little bit more of an emphasis to that. So now that our first page is done, we'll save a draft before we actually publish it, and then let's look at a preview of what it looks like. So this is, of course, what the page looks like on the front end of the website. As you can see, most of the formatting within the content area here looks just like it looked when we were editing the post. So you can see that the image is floated over to the right here with the text wrapping around it. We have our different links that we've added, the block quote, and of course the link to the resume. And when we click on that, we see the resume. So that all looks good to me, and so we're going to go ahead and push publish, and it is now live on the web. So that's pretty cool, and now our first page is done. And why don't we create one more page before we move on from here, and that will be a contact page. So again, we'll just go up and go to Add New. And then on a contact page, typically the most common way to set it up is to add a contact form. We do need a plugin for that, so for now I'm just going to write out my email and my phone number directly within the post. And if you want to link an email, you use the same button that you use to link anything else. And you can see that WordPress automatically adjusts the link format here. So if it's an email, it's going to start with mail to and a colon, and then your email address. And then that will automatically link to opening up in a web browser, in an email client if someone clicks on that on your site. You could also potentially add social media links here, but I'm going to show you in a little while a better way to add social media links with the particular WordPress theme that we're using right now, which is the 2015 default theme. So again, we'll publish that and we're good to go. If we go back to the pages screen, you can see that we now have the 2 pages that we've created. You can create as many pages as you want. Just keep in mind that pages are designed for static content. So you don't want to be updating pages all the time. While it might make sense to update it periodically, you should really be using new posts when you're adding new content. And so we're going to talk about posts next. So now we're going to go over to posts in the admin menu, and again just trash the default post and add a new one. By default, you can think of posts kind of like blog posts, but they also can work as portfolio items if your site's going to have more of an emphasis on being used as a portfolio site. The terminology that you use and present on the front end of your website doesn't necessarily have to match exactly how WordPress presents it in the back end. And so I personally am a composer, and so I'm going to use this blog to showcase my music. But of course, as I mentioned, you can use blog posts to showcase any type of content that you might have. So I'm going to write this post about a piece that I recently finished recording. So as you can see, you can just start writing your content in the editor here. There are a few things that you can change about the writing experience within WordPress, and I do want to point those out before I start writing this post. One of my favorites is actually called the distraction-free writing mode, and that's this little button over here. When you click on that, everything will fade away except for the main content area where you're writing. And so if I just start writing, and of course, if you want to make any formatting changes, you'll see that we're still in this distraction-free mode. But as soon as you're ready to do anything else, such as publishing the post, just move the mouse over to where you know that the publish button is located, over on the side of the screen, and everything else will fade back in. But when you start writing in the editor again, you'll notice everything that will fade back out so that you can focus on writing while you're writing. Now you might be wondering how I might want to insert this audio file that I have of the recording into WordPress. We can use the Add Media button for this again, and as you may not know, and now do know, WordPress actually supports audio and video uploads. So we can just drop our MP3 file into here, and as you can see, it's automatically brought in some of the information that was stored in that file, such as the title and artist of it, as well as the year. And then down here you can see that we're going to embed a media player. And once we insert that into the post, you can see that WordPress automatically inserts this audio player for us, and we can even preview what that sounds like within the editor. And of course, you can do this with audio and video as well. WordPress also supports audio playlists, so if any of you are musicians or maybe if you do radio or anything else that uses audio, you can upload those directly within WordPress and even create playlists of them and publish those on your site. So that's pretty cool. Now, once I've gotten this post written, in this case it's a pretty short post. Of course, you can write very long posts in WordPress or very short posts like this one, but there are a few other features of WordPress that assist the display of shorter posts like this. And one of those is called post format. So if you look over here where it says format, open that up and you can see WordPress has 10 different types of formats for your post. So if it's a regular post with a lot of text and maybe different levels of subheadings, that'll be a standard post. In this case, though, I'm sharing an audio file, so I'm going to make that an audio post. Next, you can see we have categories and then tags. Now, in this case, since this is about my compositions, I'm going to tag this, or add a composition category. Now, you might be wondering what the difference between categories and tags is. Categories are general categories for different things on your site, so you might have 5 to 10 of them, and you'll probably set them up when you first create your site, but you're not going to want to continue adding more and more of those over time. You're going to want to sort of limit the number of categories that you have so that everything in a category is about one type of a thing, whereas tags can be a little bit more specific in terms of what you have. So while a post will typically only be in one category, it could have a whole bunch of different tags, and you can also have however many tags you might need on your site depending on what content you have and how much content you have. You can always add new tags as needed when you have new types of content. So if you're doing like a 3-post series on a particular event, you might use a tag for that so that those different posts are related, but they would all still just be in 1 or 2 different categories, rather than creating a category for a specific event that's only going to have a limited number of posts in it over time. So in this case, I'm going to tag this maybe new recording. And then finally, one of the other things that you can do to make your posts really stand out is by adding featured images. So if you click Set Featured Image, you'll see it brings up the media library. I have a particular image in mind for this, so I'm going to go ahead and drag that in. And as you can see, the image again just loads how it would normally. We can set that as the featured image and we're done. And now that I have my featured image in here, as a matter of fact, I am now thinking I should add a little bit more of an explanation to my post about what this particular piece is about. So I'll just go ahead and add that into the end. Notice, of course, that WordPress fades out all of the other things once you start typing, since we have the distraction-free mode enabled. And I feel like this might be a good place to put another link, so I'll add in a link here. Once again, all you need is just the HTTP. Now, I actually don't remember what their website is, so I'm going to go ahead and just Google it. Oops. And I misspelled that a little bit, but... Okay, and then if there's a site like this that you don't necessarily remember the URL to, but that you think might be useful to link to, you can always just Google it, find their link, and then copy and paste that in. Just make sure you remove the original HTTP that WordPress puts in there for you. We'll open that in a new tab so that, again, when they click on that link, it'll open in a new tab over here, but it won't take them away from your site. And there we go. So I think we're all good with this post. It's an audio post. We gave it a category and a tag, and we also set a featured image. So we're going to go ahead and publish it. Let's add a couple more quick posts just to see a couple other features within posting. So I mentioned post formats before. Now let's do a status post. In this status post, I want to embed a tweet from Twitter. And so to do that, we're going to go over to Twitter, and we'll go to the Annenberg Digital Lounge's Twitter account, and let me find the tweet that I was looking for here. Now, you need to find the URL for a specific tweet, and so the best way to find that on Twitter and most other social sites such as Instagram is going to be by clicking on the timestamp or the date stamp of that tweet. Once we're here, we can just copy that URL, and then to embed it in WordPress, all we need to do is paste it in. And so I'm just going to Command V to paste, and you can see that the tweet loads automatically. Now, at the moment, the formatting hasn't loaded yet, but depending on the speed of your internet connection, eventually the formatting for that tweet will load. And as you can see, there it is. And so it's really that simple. All you have to do to embed a tweet or a YouTube video, something from Vimeo, Instagram, whatever it is to just copy and paste the URL on its own line, and then WordPress will automatically load that up for you. So I'm just going to add a quick explanation about why I'm posting this, and then we can publish this post, and that's it. Okay, and again, this might be a good opportunity to link to something, so we'll practice putting in a link here. So again, just insert the link. Since it's an external site, we'll open it in a new tab, and that's that. So now let's see, we set it as a status post. This is something that doesn't fit into any of the categories that I've set up already, so I think I will create a new category for this. Since I currently work at the Digital Lounge, but that's sort of part of my thing part of my experience here at USC, I'm actually going to create a USC category, and then I'm going to tag it with Annenberg and Digital Lounge. And actually, I'll also add a Creative Cloud tag here, because I think in the future I might have a few other posts about the Adobe Creative Cloud. I don't really have a featured image for this one, although an example of, you could put some somewhat unrelated thing here, maybe an image of something about the Creative Cloud. For now, I'll just leave that blank, and we'll go ahead and publish the post. Now note that I didn't actually put in a title for this post. Not all posts necessarily have to have a title, and especially if you use the status or aside post formats, a lot of themes won't even display a title on the front end even if you create one. So that's sort of optional depending on the type of, or depending on the format of the post that you're creating. Now let's add a quick video post with a YouTube video. So I'm going to go to YouTube and see if I can find this particular video I have in mind. Actually, we're going to go to a particular channel that I know it's on, or you could always just search for it. And let's find, oh, there it is. And so we're going to open up this video, and like with Twitter and anything else, you can just copy this URL and then jump back to WordPress and just paste it in, and it'll automatically load up just like that. Now that actually looks like it might not have grabbed exactly what we were looking for, and I think that's because we were on a playlist. Yeah, it was. And so sometimes with things like this, you're just going to have to find, look around a little bit within the different sites. So in this case, you can see YouTube has an option to share with the playlist. We'll turn that off if we just want this one video. And then again, just copy it and go back to WordPress. We can just delete this, paste in our new one, and there we have the video that we were looking for. And so in this case, I am going to have a title for this post. And so this is from a concert that I did over the summer. So I'll just write a little bit of text to introduce the video and then just leave the video for my blog post. The other thing that I'm going to note here is that you can actually backdate posts. So since this concert was over the summer, I'm actually going to change the date of the post by editing the publish options here. And we're going to change the month back to July. I think the concert happened in mid-July. I think it was like the 10th or something. So we'll just set it to July 15th. Hit OK on that. You can also change the time as needed. Posts are displayed in the order chronologically based on the time that you set. So if you need to reorder posts, you can always use the timestamps to adjust them. Okay, so we'll write a quick intro to this. Oops. Okay, and now that that's written out, we'll just add a couple of little formatting things. Again, it's really easy to work with the formatting tools in WordPress. It's just like it would be with any Word editor, so like Microsoft Word, for example, or Pages. All the tools are right there where you need them, and you can also add links and stuff. Again, here I would recommend putting in links. I won't take the time to do that right now. And then again, you can check right in WordPress to make sure that the video works as intended. Now, the internet's a little bit slow here right now, so I think we're having some issues with that. But the other option, if it doesn't want to load right here, oh, here we go. Okay, so we can see that that works. We've got our post written, and we changed the date on it. Now let's just change it to a video post format since it is a video. I'm going to put this under the compositions category. It's an arrangement, and it's a video. And then since I do a lot of work with the Boulder Cello project, but that does sort of fall under the category of my work as a composer, I'm going to tag it Boulder Cello project. I'm also going to tag it Chase the Music, because that's the other organization that we worked with here. And finally, I'll tag it with recording or perform. I think I'll go with performance and recording, actually, because I used the recording tag before, I believe. And to check if you've used a tag before, you can just check most used tags. Actually, it was new recording, so I'm not going to bother doing a separate recording one. You can also manage and adjust your tags in the tags page underneath posts. So once you have several posts written and you've started creating a bunch of tags, you can merge different ones there and things like that as needed. I do want to set a featured image for this. I think I have a picture from the concert here that I can just drag and drop in. Oops. Okay, there we go, and we'll just set that as the featured image. It's loaded and we're good to go, so we'll go ahead and publish that. Now you can also, I did change the date on this to backdate it to July. You can also schedule a post for some date in the future. So if you set a future date on this, the button will change from publish to schedule, and then it won't actually show up on your site until the time that you have set for it to show up. Okay, and then let's add one more post. I want to show one more really cool thing that WordPress can do with images, and that is galleries. And so I have a whole bunch of pictures. So we're going to call this post Scenes from Oregon. I'm from Oregon, and so I have a whole bunch of pictures there, and I was sort of putting these together and thinking it might be nice to post a collection of them in a blog post. So we're going to do a gallery here, so we're going to go to Create Gallery. You can see that the images that we've already uploaded show up as options here, but I'm going to upload a whole new set of images for this. So we can just drag and drop all of our images in here at once. And then you can see WordPress will start uploading all of these different images. So I dragged in, I think, 13 images this time. In the past, I've done over 100 images in one gallery. WordPress is really good at handling different images. So if you have a lot of pictures and you want to post them all in a collection, this is a really good way to do it. You can see that everything that I just dragged in is automatically selected, and those are all the posts, all of the images that I want in my gallery. So we'll just go down to create a new gallery, and then we can go through and caption all of these images. You don't have to put a caption on all the images, of course, so in that case I'll leave that one out. Let's see. So as you can see, it's really easy to add in a whole bunch of images and to caption them all, similar to how you might do that on, for example, Facebook. There are a few different settings for your gallery before you insert it. In this case, these are all just sort of images from different times throughout the past couple of years, and so I'll actually just set it to have a random order. If you want them to be in a specific order, leave that unchecked, and they'll just display in the order you see here. And you can drag them around, drag and drop to rearrange them if you want them to show up in a different order. You can change the size of it. Usually the thumbnail size is fine, but I'm going to bump it up to medium for this particular gallery. And you can change how many columns it shows up in. So let's try it with 3 columns. We're going to link them all to the attachment page, which will basically let you cycle through the different images in the gallery once you click on one at a larger image size. So insert that, and you can see we have our whole gallery of different images inserted here. I want them to show up a little bit bigger, so I'm going to actually change it to only showing 2 columns at a time. And you can see that looks a little bit bigger, puts a little bit more emphasis on the images. So I'm just going to write a quick little introduction to this gallery here. Okay, and then I already put in a title. This one I can also, actually, you know what, this one I'm going to backdate this one also. Most of these pictures are actually from November, so I'll set this to the end of November. It's currently December, so that's just going to put this post a little bit behind some of the other posts that I just created where I didn't change the publish date. We'll set that to be a gallery. And this doesn't really fit into any of the categories that I have right now. But I do like to do a lot of photography, so I'm going to add a photography category. And then we'll tag this Oregon. And actually, I don't think I used that tag on the other post there, but I might add it to that other post that talked a little bit about Oregon. And even though we have a gallery with a lot of images in it, we should actually still make sure we set a featured image on this post, because certain themes will display featured images in certain ways. And so you can see all of the images that we've uploaded both to this post and to other posts show up here as options. And so based on how I know this is going to display, I think I'm going to pick this image because it's one of my favorites out of this collection. And then I'll just set that as the featured image. And I think we're good to go. So we'll go ahead and hit publish. And now we're done. So we've created several posts now. We can go back to the main posts page and see all the different posts we've created. Each one of them has a different post format, and we added categories and tags to all of them, and so you can go back and manage those later if you want to. So now that we've got all of our content created, let's look at the front end of the site and see what that actually is looking like. Okay, so we can see lots of different things here. All of our different posts are being displayed here. The featured image is showing up at the top, and then the post titles below it. This is what the gallery looks like. Down here we have our video post. That being said, I think I like this layout, but I'm not sure if I'm in love with the colors and just sort of the general look of my site right now. And I'm also not sure what's happening with all the stuff over here in the sidebar. And so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to what is called the customizer, and that's where we can change what the appearance of the site looks like. And so this is independent of any of the specific content that we've added, and it will change the overall appearance and layout of the site. To get there, you're going to hover over the name of your site up here in what's called the toolbar, and this is always displayed on both the front end and the back end or the admin of your site. Under here we're going to go to customize. So this is the customizer. As you can see on the left hand side we have various different controls for managing the appearance of our site, and then on the right we have a preview of what it looks like on the front end of the site to visitors. But note that any changes that we make here are not going to show up live on the site until you hit the publish button, which will come up here once we make some changes. So let's just try a couple different things. This particular theme has some different color schemes, so we can cycle through those. Let's see. That one's interesting, but a little bold. I'm not a big fan of pink, or probably purple now. And that's not really my shade of blue either. So I kind of like the dark one, but I think I want to go with something a little brighter. So I'm going to stick with this, but as you can see, we can actually adjust these colors a little more. So I'm going to add a little bit more contrast here. In fact, actually, I want this to have maybe a little more personality, and I like blue, so maybe I'll go with a different color, or maybe a different shade, maybe a light blue. That's a little purpley. So as you can see, you can go through and select pretty much any color you want here, customize it to look just like you want. So I kind of am liking that, and so we'll go with that. Now, you can also put in a header image or a background image. So we'll do a header image. As you can see, it brings up all the images you've already uploaded first. And so if there's one from here that you like, you could use that. I kind of like this one. I wonder if this would look good there. So you're going to have to crop a header image potentially. In this case, it's displayed in that sidebar, so it needs it to be a certain size that's more vertical than horizontal. So let's try that. And then once it loads, we can see what that looks like here. I kind of like that. So we'll go with that. I do need to tweak the text color a little bit maybe, but we can just go back to colors to do that. And I think we'll just sort of lighten that up. Yeah, so if we go with white, that's a little bit easier to see against this background image that we've set here. And actually I'm going to tweak this color just a little bit more to reflect that image a little bit better. So maybe a little more green or a little grayer. Kind of liking something more like that. So you can play around with this however you want. Note that all these changes that I've just made are not public on my site yet until I actually hit this Save and Publish button. But I'm going to go ahead and hit that button now. And then we'll move into a couple other things. Now, I mentioned before that you can choose to either have a specific page or all of your latest blog or portfolio posts displayed on the home page of your site. Right now, I'm showing all the latest posts. Under the static front page section, you can change that to a static page. And so you can set the front page to be maybe an about page. So now we can see, okay, that's what our about me page looks like. On the front end, if we made that the home page, I think for my site though, I do like it being the latest posts a little bit better. I will just note, if you want the posts, if you do want to have a static front page, you are going to have to set a page to be the posts page. And so all you do for that is you just create a new page that you could call blog or portfolio. All you do is you put in the title, and then you don't need to put any content in. Once you set that as the posts page, that will automatically show all of the different things within, or all of your different posts on that page when you add that page as a link somewhere. But I'll change this back to latest post for now. The next thing that we want to do is to figure out what's happening with this sidebar. So the sidebar is usually a widget area, and so to edit it, you go to widgets. And as you can see, that says widget area there, and then these are all of the different things that are showing up right here. You can see when I mouse over these, it's kind of highlighting over here which widget it is. I don't think I really need most of these, so we're going to go ahead and start removing it. So meta, that doesn't look like anything that I want showing up on my site. Categories, actually, that could be useful, so I'll leave that. I don't really think I need archives. And I'm not even enabling comments right now, so I'll remove that one. I guess it could be useful to leave recent posts, so I'll leave that there, and same thing with search. There are a whole bunch of other widgets that you can add, so to do that you just go to add a widget, and you can see there are lots of different options here. Of course, there are some limited things, so let's say you wanted to add a picture of yourself over to that sidebar as well. You would want an image widget for that, and while that's not built in, you can add that with a plugin very easily. And then the last thing that I want to do is I want to add a few social links to my site, and I want to put those in the sidebar also. And I also want to put in links to my two static pages, the About page and the Contact page, because as you can see right now, there's no way to get to those from the site. To do that, we're going to use menus. So we're going to go ahead and save this and close it. We're going to go back to the WordPress admin, and then under Appearance, we're going to go to Menus. So this first menu is going to be the main menu, so I'll just call it something like that. Create the menu, and then over here it looks like we've got both of our pages available here, and so we can just add those. If you view all, you'll see there's also a link to the home page, and for now that's going to have my blog or portfolio on it, so I'll change the label of that. For my site, I think I'm going to call it a blog because it touches on a few different things, but if you're mostly just posting portfolio items there, you could just call it a portfolio just as easily. So you can see it says blog, contact, about. I think I want the about page to be before contact, so we can just drag and drop them to reorder them. And in this case, since this is sort of showing the links to all the different pages, I'm going to automatically add new pages to this menu. And that way, in the future, if you add a new page, it'll automatically show up here in the menu. We're also going to create one more new menu and use that for social links. So I'll call it a social menu. And for this, I'm going to add a bunch of custom links. So let's start with Twitter. And and then we'll do Facebook. Maybe Instagram. Nope, and let's capitalize that. And there we go. So we have a few different things here. I think I'm cool with that. Actually, I'll put Facebook last. Okay, so I like these. I could always add more later, but for now I'll just keep it simple and stick to my main ones that we're using at the Annenberg Digital Lounge. And of course, you'll just put in your personal links there if you want them. And so now that we've set the menus, we're actually going to jump back to the customizer to set them up to actually display on the site. So under Appearance, we'll go back to Customize. And now you can see we have a navigation section in the customizer. And it basically explains that this theme supports 2 different locations for the menu. So for the primary menu, we'll put our main menu in there. And now that that reloads, we can see that that shows up right here. So that's right under the name of the site. And then it also supports a menu for social links. So we'll put in the social menu that we created there. And you can see that puts in some nice links. It actually will replace the text that we put in for that menu with an icon. And so our different icons for the different social sites show up there and they're linked. And so since it looks like there's room on this one line for more icons, I might go back and add a couple more links to that menu later. But for now, I think this looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and save and publish that and close out of here. And let's look back at the front end one more time just to see how we're liking how the site looks. One thing you might notice is that under recent posts, this one post where we didn't put a title just shows up with a number. So for that reason, you might, if you are using a recent post widget like this, you might want to update that. But otherwise, I think this is looking pretty good. You can see we've got it fairly customized with the different image in the sidebar over here. We changed the background color. Most of these posts have featured images, and so those really highlight what we have on here. And there's a lot of multimedia content in here. We have this big gallery with all these images. We have the featured images. We put that YouTube video in. There's an audio player here. We even have a tweet that's been embedded. So you can do a lot here. More on the blog now. Let's just look at the About page. Again, this is looking pretty good. You can always go back and edit these pages either from the admin or while you're browsing the front end of the site. If you look at this black bar at the top of the page, that's called the toolbar. If you click on the edit link in there, or there's also an edit link at the bottom of every post and page. In either of those places, you can get back to editing that post or page in the admin from there, and then get back to it from viewing the page up in the same spot in the toolbar. So again, this is looking pretty good. Got that nice image in there, and then jumping over to the contact page. Of course, that looks good, and since we have our social media links on every page in this sidebar, we don't really need to add those here. In a future video, we'll go over adding a contact form to this page and a few other details, such as how to change the overall layout of the site. We went over how to sort of customize the layout, or customize the appearance of it, but not change the whole layout. You can customize the appearance within what's called a theme, but to change this overall layout of things, we actually would change our theme. So this is all done using the default built-in 2015 theme. And in a future video, I will show you how to look at some different options for different themes. You can really make your WordPress site look like anything just by changing the theme and adding your own content to really make it personalized and fit to your needs. If you have any more questions or would like in-person help with WordPress, please stop by the Annenberg Digital Lounge in Wallace Annenberg Hall, room 301, and our staff at the help desk can assist you. For more WordPress tutorials and a calendar of our workshops, please visit our website, annenbergdl.org. Good luck on building your WordPress site, and I hope you enjoy publishing your content with WordPress.